Thank you. I feel like I'm a cricketer who comes after Sachin Tendulkar's wicket. Also, I thank the festival organizers for giving me a session without anybody else on the stage because I dictated it because I thought I was a super sub. I was not on this list, last minute replacement. I thought I was a super sub, but now I know it's a concussion sub because the original speaker was sick apparently. Also, I was quite surprised when I went to the author's lounge. There were a lot of badges with different colors. There was a blue color one, and I was afraid they'll give me a saffron colored one. I'm lucky it's pink. I think it shows that me as a person, I don't look at color. I don't wear a jaundice lens. For me, a Hindu Murti, a Jain Murti, be it a Harappan artifact, is all our ancestral treasures. And with that, I'm going to put my phone down because I'm not used to reading out notes. You can see more of our work by following our hashtag, Bring Our Gods Home. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. In 2014, somebody told me that some joker sitting in Singapore, I was working in Singapore, I still work. In India, I have a day job, this is a hobby, or a second job as my son says. Which is the first job, which is the second job? The first job pays, so obviously that's the job. We coined the name India Pride Project, nothing to do with the other pride, this was real pride, to say that our murtis and what they are being consigned to. And I wanted to show some examples. And today, the session is going to be brutal. I want you all to feel the pain, feel ashamed, especially focusing on Karnataka, because this happened and is happening under your watch. Before it gets really sharp, I would like to dedicate, because it's going to be a long deck, I'm going to do a record, I think. It's 269 slides, 1,000 photographs, 6 videos, so I'm going to be on a rush marathon here. I dedicate it to the unknown artists who created these magnificent works of art that have stood for 1,000 years and more, smiled, whereas our bridges don't even wait till inauguration time. Our sculptors who created these divine works, my first salute to them. And always, artists need patrons, the kings and chieftains who sponsor them. And of course, commoners like us who have to turn up to appreciate. An artist always likes an audience. So why do we call it Bring Our Gods Home? A lot of people said, but archetypal fragments are there. But to me, this is a faceless crime. People don't realize the impact on the ground. And this is how, I'm in Bangalore, I'm slugging from the bottle. So what is it that we do? I know this is a BlrLitFest. I will get to my book. I will tell you what, but there are going to be clues. You're going to be cracking codes, the same codes I cracked, so that I want more of you not to contact me immediately, because after this talk, all of you will feel pain, pressure to volunteer and help me. Happens after every talk, and I tell them, wait a week. If you still remember this fat man, try to come and reach me. It's never happened often. So I work on restitution, building awareness, being a deterrent, influence policy, and capacity building. Yes, we do try to build capacity. So I'll start with the success story. Why is it important? So this was a bronze group that was under worship in a temple in Tamil Nadu. And I'm going to spread this across India with more focus on Karnataka. But this is quite unique because this was a temple that was robbed in 1978. The temple lost its bronzes. They are left with only another Hanuman bronze, not this one that you see on the screen. We tracked it to a UK dealer who had these bronzes for sale. One of our volunteers pictured this on the dealer's desk. It was not on sale. It was not on display. And a year later, I was there. My face was not that well known that time. And again, I saw another bronze, but it was not the same. So people who are new to this, you will realize that Rama and Lakshmana iconographically are the same in a group, except for the height. So the hero of this group is Rama, so he's shown taller. But if you look closely, the Rama's crown has a small knob on the top. I'm not going to use any Silpa terms because I know you will hate that, and I hated it when I first started this. And that's what I wanted my book also to be. I wanted it to be for the layman. So we realized that he did not have just the Rama and Hanuman, Rama alone, he also had the Lakshmana. So we went searching for thefts that happened of a group. Unfortunately, this took 4 years. Stylistically, these are not Chola bronzes, these are Vijayanagara bronzes. Vijayanagara, yes, of course, you are all from the heartland. And a chance look at the stock of the Madras Museum pointed us to say that this style was prevalent in Karaikal, which is a union territory. When we went and searched, we realized that currently this temple was called a Hanuman temple. Public memory that it was a Rama temple was forgotten. And we found the proof. We got the pre-theft in situ photographs from, of course, the French Institute in Pondicherry that you see now. We managed to show it to the Metropolitan Police, and this happened. On August 15th, they were decked up. This is in the Indian High Commission. And 2 years later, they've gone back to the temple. They've gone back to worship, to spelling the camphor, the incense, the saffron, and all that. And I just wanted to play the actual.
Welcome you all for this very, very special event. We are extremely happy to announce.
Did you see anything missing? The Hanuman is missing. Only 3 have come back. The Hanuman is still in a museum in Singapore. For the last 8 years, we are still searching for it. Okay, back to a different story. All of you would recognize this. Kantara. But you miss something that he is wearing as a headgear. It's called a Bhuta mask. It was a form of ancestral worship that is prevalent in your state. And when we were going against the villain of my book, we found in his stock one. And please note the clues. You see these small sticky notes? Please keep track, because I'm going to ask you at the end again. 5 here, 6 here, another 5 here, another 3 here. This was his unsold stock. And all these have been missing, have been found and recovered, and your state have not even asked for it. These are sitting still in America for the last 14 years, waiting for your state to make a request. Just a request, because other states are prioritizing. Again, for sharp eyes, I'm going to again switch to Tamil Nadu. We are going to talk about a small clue. The clue was not anywhere else. It was not in the statue. It was in the pedestal. I don't know how many people can read Tamil. The pedestal of this murti, there was a Tamil inscription which read Thiruppambal Vorathu Chivigai Nayagar. And this was in the museum's acquisition. So when we do web crawling, we looked at around this period what was bought. And this was the wording that we got from a volunteer again. So this was already out of India in Ball State Museum. And finally, when we gave the evidence, we realized that it was stolen by the villain of my book, got restored by an American restorer who has currently been arrested as well. And so this was the condition when he made it into this. And finally, just after COVID, the courts in Kumbakonam handed it over to the temple. The temple official said, Vijay, we want you to deliver it to us. So this is a very small bronze that I'm able to carry. There were bigger bronzes. So that's one. But it's not all that easy. Sometimes there are other clues. So you see this Hanuman. I was searching for other Hanumans. We have already tracked a few to the Met Museum. So this Hanuman was sold by Christie's in 2018 to an Australian bureaucrat. It was stolen from a temple in 2014. I'll give you key dates. In 2011, Kapoor, who's the villain of my book, was arrested in Germany. He fought extradition for a year. In 2012, September, he was extradited to India. Exactly 18 months, this temple, which was like 30 kilometers from the main temple for which Kapoor was arrested, was robbed, and the FIR was closed, saying all accused arrested, idols not found. And within 4 years, this idol was auctioned by Christie's. And how did we find it? In 2019, from the IFE archive. This was the small image. So it's tough for you to see that how can somebody match, but to study idols, icons, murtis, especially Chola bronzes and similar bronzes, you have to see 1,000 for you to even do the identification. This was the auction photo. Based on our tracking, we realized it was the same. Again, a Vijayanagara Hanuman. And then we started cracking. Every scratch mark, every crack was matched. And we gave it. And luckily, it had not had left the US to Australia. And the restitution happened. Sometimes strange things happen. Someone talk about a Chola Buddha. And this Buddha, when we complained to the police that Kapoor is trying to sell this Buddha for $2 million, the police, actually there's a Hindu paper article that says, prompt action by the police stopped the theft of a Chola Buddha. By which time, this bronze was given on loan by Kapoor to a museum in Singapore which was for an exhibition called the Nalanda Way, which was opened by then Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. And it came back and it was offered for sale in New York, and its price tag went up by double. And this was the photograph when it was still inside the temple in Narapakam. And you know how we found it? Facebook. A reader of mine in Facebook saw my post, came back and said, look, there's an old teacher who had published a book. And this was the book. And then we know, because Kapoor had tried to sell it as a Nagapatnam Buddha. Now, Nagapatnam Buddhas are strange. We have tracked one to a resort in Hawaii. From Nagapatnam has gone to Hawaii. So what have we done so far? To give you pure statistics, from 1972 to 2000, India brought back 19 antiquities. 2000 to 2012, 0. During the same period, why 1972? The UN, United Nations, brought across an international convention or a statute that brought in saying that anything that is stolen and removed out of the source country after 1970, you don't have to go to court. Use the convention as a signatory. The destination nation has 30 days to refute your claim. Otherwise, the idol or icon is forfeit to you. India and Italy actually campaigned in the UN for this statute. Italy set up their own specialized task force. They have recovered 378,000 objects. In the same period, we recovered 19. Post this, we have crossed 2,100, of which 800 have physically come back to India. I just take you a little back. So we are now talking about collecting as a colonial fetish. Everybody knows Amaravati limestones currently in the British Museum. Taken against British advice. British archaeology said, our job as archaeologists is not to plunder this country, and on record, this is cold. A British officer saying, we are not here to plunder this country and take it out. They still pick the best. One part is in Chennai Museum, one part is in the Calcutta Museum. The best was shipped to London, where they stayed on an open wharf for 18 months before the British Museum acquired it. And this is even sadder. Any Bengalis in the crowd? This was taken from Sagar Island by one of the earliest British officers of the East India Company officers. He actually took a boat to get fresh oysters. And he found this murti on Sagar Island and brought it back. Again, Konark, currently sitting in the British Museum. And this is another strange one. I'm building up to Karnataka. So this is from a Danish colony in Tarangambadi. Peter Anker, the Danish collector, he had a gold-plated letter from the Nayak king saying he can expand his fort for 2 years. And when he was digging the fort foundations, he found a cache of 31 bronzes, including this Nataraja, Somaskanda, and a lot of puja items. This is Peter Anker. And he later took it back and sold it to the King of Denmark. This currently is in the Denmark National Museum. And he told them that I bought it from the locals. If you look at the original Danish records, he gave the locals a bag of rice and some betel nuts for 31 sacred objects. The locals cried saying, we don't want to lose our gods. He said on record that these gods have lost their power. There is no temple nearby to accept your gods. If you actually go to Tarangambadi today, 400 meters from the fort, you can still see the Masulam and other Chola temple still extend there. This is another Vishnu that was taken from Coimbatore. Interesting story. Taken away by Lord Curzon. Now we come to the Hoysala aspect. Lowenthal was a Jesuit priest. He first applies to the British resident to take away a few loose sculptures. Say the British resident says no. He goes to the villages, gives them some spectacle, a reading glass, and takes away icons. And then later, he says, I went to the Maharaja of Mysore and he gave me approval to remove a few. Totally 88 sculptures are currently in the Danish National Museum. Some of them taken from gullible villagers. All these references are available. And I'll give you another reference. This is a research paper by the University of, Museum of Philadelphia, where they are looking at a Brahma that was stolen from or lifted from, in which they refer a very interesting Murti. So this Brahma is very special because he has a foundation inscription of a sculptor. Usually most of our sculptors don't sculpt their names. This is the very rarest of rare instances where you see the name of Dasoja. And the same name is also carved of a Vishnu that was taken from Kikeri, that is currently in the Metropolitan Museum, taken away in 1919 by a dealer Kerkovian. No claims have been made by Karnataka for these two sculptures. And in which case, for the Brahma, the same research paper by them show these clues. And the clue is there right in front of your eyes. If you see, normally the Vahana is depicted on the Pida, the pedestal. So if you see the Nagaraja, Nagarani, it's a later implant because the Vahana is a Hamsa. So typically the Brahma should have been on this pedestal. So the Vahana is still waiting for. So that is how it should have been. Again, this is all researched, waiting for you to ask for it. We have lost a lot. I'm not saying you guys alone. Tamil Nadu has lost all these portrait bronzes. What happens, people don't understand, is a lot of people say, it can be better in a museum there. They take good care of it. These bronzes have never been seen after 1930. Nobody knows where they've gone. Now, is it an impossible task to get back colonial loot? Last week, we managed to succeed in bringing back the leaden plates, or so-called leaden plates, the two plates of Rajendra Chola and Kulothunga Chola, the Aanai Mangalam Cheppedugal. I had the good fortune of visiting the museum in 2018. And, for me as a Tamil, to read, there you see Sri Rajaraja, and to physically touch the seal of the emperor. And, they thought I was some scholar. I was giving a lecture at the Rijksmuseum. And, I do pro bono. They said, Vijay, we want to do something for you. I said, I want to see the plates because the plates were about an hour's train away. So I went there. They thought they were looking for an expert researcher. And this is what I was doing, taking a selfie with the seals. And I also got what provenance they had. The only provenance they had was Florentius Camper, a Jesuit priest, or a minister of faith of Batavia. In essence, our research showed him to be a slave trader who was transiting Nagapattinam for 45 days in 1701. Somehow got these plates and took it back to Netherlands in 1713. Impossible task, but I would say diplomacy worked. And this happened during the Prime Minister's visit last week. So, I know a few of you don't want to clap, but sometimes when credit is due, you have to give. But it also sets a precedent. You can ask back for colonial loot. And this happened because the Dutch had a change of mind. In 2018, they said, we will erase colonial memories. We don't want these signs of slavery and colonialism to be exhibited. And they started giving back. So how big is the task? Task is big. This is a newspaper clipping from 1985. This is the CAG report of 2013. Some people might say my numbers are wrong. So if you, this is not the CAG report, this is the CAG report of 2013 on ASI. And it clearly says that India has bought back only 19 antiquities till 2000. 2000 to 2013 is zero. Why is it difficult? So again, I'm going to show you examples. These guys were so smart, the robbers. They actually manufactured fakes. Achasal, we call it, exact replicas. So what you see on the black and white is the original. What you see in the temple is a fake. It's actually a Shaivite alvar. I'm happy that in the session before, the previous session, they didn't talk of Peripuranam, because if you look at what the Shaivite saints did, it would have become headlines. But again, we managed to crack it. This was switched in 1960s. Where was the original? The original was sitting in Ashmole in Oxford. So when we wrote to the temple, they said, "Oh, the bronze is still with us." We said, "No, it's not with you, it's in Oxford." And finally, after a 6-year battle, for the first time, a UK institution has given back a stolen bronze, and the bronze was handed over last month. But this temple has more bronzes, more fakes, which are now tracked to US museums, which we are now using this as a precedent to start coming back. Now, there have been cover-ups as well. Good story without a cover-up. So this was a Nataraja that was stolen in 1960s, sent to England, tried to be sold by a gallery called Emerald Art Gallery. This is an in situ photograph when it was still in the temple. Scotland Yard and Tamil Nadu police did a joint raid of the gallery, by which time he had already sold this Nataraja to the Kimball Museum. They found 240 sculptures in his gallery. They raided his house, found 48 sculptures, Mr. Chabaria's house. This is a headline that appeared at that date in the India Today. Only the Nataraja has come back to India. From 1985, the records of this raid have, nobody knows. So a lot of things are happening. In 1998, Peter Watson, a journalist of BBC, published this book. It's called Sotheby's The Inside Story. Anybody interested in true crime, please look at it for our crime. He actually interviewed, basically this was exposing Sotheby's, which was sending their representatives to India. Majority of the book is for Italy, but they were actually having their sales guys coming to India, going on recce trips, finding and picking objects to loot, accompanied by some of our scholars. So this was not some random theft, it was a targeted looting on an industrial scale where Indian art from temples was prized and then looted, to such an extent that they had this almost 8-ton Varaha that they yanked a chain on the leg and used a truck to pull it and sold it to a gallery in Switzerland, in Zurich. And when we approached the gallery, they said, "I have 3, which is yours." So the government, I told them, "You asked for all 3. But it's still, Switzerland is another dark hole. The Bofors papers like that, this Varaha has still come. We are still listing it as a top antiquity to come back." The executives who Sotheby's closed their shop, India went after the smugglers 5 years after the book was published. Vaman Gya in Rajasthan was arrested. After 4 hours, he had locked himself in his, and they couldn't break open the door apparently. He was burning catalogs of Christie's and Sotheby's. The 2 representatives who visited India started their own antiquity office in UK shop. A farmhouse in Delhi was raided. He did 846 sculptures. Vaman Gya was acquitted in 2013 for want of evidence. Not a single artifact came during that period from 2000 to 2012. In 2013, all these started coming back. So you will see the Yogini from Paris, the Varaha from the US, and we have not even appealed the verdict. Interesting happened. So we were given a case which I will show you in more detail in what you're seeing there, covered in a cloth. That is the artifact that I want to talk about.
Event of restitution of India's national cultural heritage, a 12th century AD bronze image of Bhagwan Buddha. This is an incredible story of a 900-year-old cultural heritage that was stolen 57 years ago and is being returned back to India today. This image was among the 14 bronze statues stolen from the Archaeological Survey of India Museum at Nalanda in August 1961. Earlier this year, the High Commission and the Met Police were alerted by Mr. Vijay Kumar.
Hang on. The clue is not my name there. The clue is the phone call. I was watching this live restitution, and you see in the back, there is a Natesa. This was stolen by Vaman Gya, and we were tracking it, and it was not known. When we were sitting inside the Indian High Commission since 2005, this restitution happened in 2018, and somebody had placed it, the paperwork they had missed. So I was calling saying, forget the Buddha, the Natesa is evidence as well. And, the robbers had actually kept a replica, the original was stolen, we managed to get it back. And finally, he also came back 2 years later. So this is actually crime that's happening. So I want people to understand also that these are not objects of art. They were never created as object of art. They were objects of worship. So in Tamil, we call them Seppu Tirumeni. Tirumeni literally translates to body of God. So they are ceremoniously bathed, clothed, festivals happen, they are sung to bed, everything happens. And in the 14th century, when there was an invasion by iconoclasts, these bronzes were buried for safety. And imagine a horde is coming to kill and plunder and whatnot, and the priests took it among themselves, followed the agamas to bury them for safety, in the hope that someday they will come back and someday they will be the original gods that they want to be. And I'll give you this example. 4 years ago, somebody was digging near a hut when this Nataraja was found, and they lifted it up. They gave it a wash, and within minutes, he's become the god that he was there. For 600 years, he was buried for this reason. And today, this is what happens to our gods. This is an actual auction that is happening in New York. And our gods have been priced. And you can actually see that they were never intended to be this. Not to be. So this is a British Thai dealer who died recently, which there's another clue that's not in this picture, which is going to come. This is his apartment in Bangkok. You can see a Somaskanda, and then you can see various sculptures that are all there. And this is his birthday party from Facebook, which we tracked in 2014. And you can actually see all our objects don't end up in museums. They end up as swimming pool furniture. So people from Karnataka, enjoy. Shit is my word. When I first saw the video, somebody God. Another one. There as well. So do you see the Nandi, the Chalukya, Mahishasuramardini? This is an apartment outside of New York. Another dealer swimming pool. So now you know why we said restoring India's pride. We are restoring the dignity of our gods. And pretty often we are blinded. We don't see. We even with our eyes we are blinded. So blind that you don't realize that there is one original and one replica on the screen. The Rama is original, Sita is a duplicate. So once you train your eyes, it's very easy. The style is different, the proportions are different, the making is different. And these robbers, every time you go to a museum, you should ask the question, what happened to the feet? Have you ever asked? Why are idols, stone idols especially, don't have feet? This happened in Devgar in 2004. Late evening, there was a noise complaint. Police rushed after 5 hours. So you see, the Varaha is actually anchored to the Pida. The Pida weighs another, Pidam, pedestal, weighs another 5 tons. The robbers actually hacked the legs off. So that is the reason why Western museums don't get the feet. Not only that, they also are very ingenious. They deliberately cut an artifact, ship it in pieces, and then stitch it back. There are professional restorers. One guy is called Neil Perry Smith, who I exposed in the book. And he has been extradited to the US. And 2 other, we will see. They stitch it back and sell. And there are literally headhunters. This is the Surya temple in Umri, one of the very rare Surya temples. The head is gone and auctioned off. So please, there's a lot of things that I wanted. So we also want the Western world to realize that it is not a faceless crime. So, and it takes a lot of time because we don't have support. A lot of people don't realize the scale and extent of this route. With evidence. So this is from Rajasthan, Salavanjika. So you can actually see the amount of effort we go through. Every scratch, every crack. This is the evidence that we provide. And it has taken, and we did this in 2006. She was returned in 2021 with this evidence. And my friend is here, Swami. He will cry. This was in Kikeri. Robbers hit. And what you are saying is the aftermath of a theft that happened in 2014. The art market practice is what is called fencing. In the earlier video, the Nalanda theft Buddha was talked about, the theft happened in 1961 and 1962. For 47 years, the Buddha had never come out. The first time it came out, I'll show you how. So these have never hit the market. We are still waiting for it. And these are just clippings of what is reported of thefts in Karnataka. And these are Karnataka icons coming on auction sales. And this one was yesterday. It was announced yesterday for sale. We did a session. I've done many talks in Bangalore. The first one I did in 2014. There were 5 guys in the audience. So I'm happy I've progressed, or thanks to the organizers. We also did a capacity building exercise where we had shown all this, what has all been missing. These are all reported missing. None of them have been found. And I'll tell you the kind of work that we do. I submitted this file to a director, I don't want to name, a director of one of your museums. This was taken from your museum in Mysore. And this is the kind of files that we give them. So you have the old records, old photographs of this Kubera, which is currently in LACMA. This was submitted in 2017, no action taken. This is the matching that we have done, so there is no doubt that it's the same icon. Now, audience, there is a clue here. Clue to a theft that we cracked thanks to a German scholar. Just watch this, we'll come back to this. So I introduce the villain of my book. That's Subhash Kapoor. Behind him are 2 bronzes. They were taken from a temple called Suttamalli. We call him a Janus figure in art. A Janus knows the past and the future. He knew exactly where they were because they were inscribed bronzes. The pedestals had the name of the village. Slight change, it was called Suttavalli. Now the village is called Suttamalli. These 2 bronzes have been hidden by his sister, thanks to the same note that he smuggled when he was in Interpol custody. He said, hide the 2 dancers and consorts in my cabinet. She's hid it in New York for the last 12 years. We are not able to find. Together, they are valued at $8.5 million. Kapoor's father was charged with the heritage theft of a Vishnu in 1962. The case came up for hearing in 1994, by which time in 1974, the whole family had migrated to America. As a young boy, he was kidnapped by we don't know who, and he had his right ear bitten off. So very colorful childhood, family business. He had divorced his wife. He had 2 girlfriends, one in New York, one in Singapore. The Singapore girlfriend found out. She was also a gallery owner, outed him out to the police. So in the book, you will see a jilted girlfriend as well. But more interestingly for us, we cracked the modus operandi. So these guys, as you know, we call them the wedding brokers. They used to send prospective groom photos. So they send robber offering photos, we call it. So these are robbering offering photos that Kapoor suppliers sent. So you see the 2 Dwarapalakas with the Veshti in the background, and then the Raja with the lungi in the background. These are all robber offering photos. How we cracked it is along working with US Homeland Security. I don't name him in the book because he's still in service. I call him Indy because the first time he told me that when he grew up, he wanted to be Indiana Jones. So when I saw him in New York, he had the whip and the hat in his cabin. So I actually sent him the book and asked him to dress up as Indiana Jones, and he sent me the photo. So one day he retires, I will publish his name. But interestingly, what happened was, I told him when I met him, forget what Kapoor bought. Give me stuff that he skipped. Who else has bought? Kapoor is already arrested. So we went after 4 more dealer networks who had bought from the same suppliers that Kapoor had skipped. So I think I'll take some more time. Is it interesting or you want to jump? Wonderful. So I'm going to show you an example again. Little clue. Beautiful Ardhanarishwara. We are celebrating womanhood here. Who greater than Shiva who gave half of his side? Must have been a pain, no? Half of your side with your women. Okay, I just talked this because you didn't realize that the sculpture has 2 hands broken. Did you realize? So the right lower hand should have been tapping the Nandi's head, and the left hand should have been in like this. So in Abhaya. So our guy, whoever it was, this was from a temple near my village. I had studied this image when I studied Ardhanarishwara as a composition, because in terms of Talamana, a male and female torsos are different proportion. When you merge them together, because of the slightly different Talamana, the image bends to the side where the male is. So if you see without the Nandi, it would be very odd. So I imagine that the sculptor brings in the Nandi to balance the composition, and you will see this in Ellora, Ajanta, everywhere. So I had listed out, and only in 2 places in Tamil Nadu, this is reversed, where Uma is on the other side. So I had published this as a blog post without realizing in 2006 when I published it. 2 years prior, the robbers had already lifted it from the temple. So this was bought by National Gallery of Art Gallery of New South Wales, and it appeared in the papers. This is the robber offering photo. This was when she was in the gallery. So immediately I had help from three journalists, a journalist in Hindu, Michaela Bolland in Australian, and Jason Felch, who was a Pulitzer shortlisted writer. His wonderful book called Chasing Aphrodite, please follow. I said, bloody hell, I've been to this temple. So immediately I got on Facebook. I said, any of my friends can go to Virudhachalam. A friend went. I was expecting an empty niche. But there was this beautiful sculpture. And totally misproportioned. If this idiot who was that idiot amateur sculptor, if he had gone to the next village, he would have known what should be a chola. So he put the right hand in abaya, he put the left hand down. So it was totally wrong. And with this photograph, we managed, and most shockingly, the Art Gallery of New South Wales had a book published by Douglas Barrett on Chola temples, which had a photograph of this. So forget doing due diligence. If you had even gone and read, I guess like us, they don't read books that they have in their libraries. They would have known this was a stolen icon. And on April 2014, this happened. I'll tell you the story of the Nataraja, but this happened. The Australian Premier and Indian Premier together, they bought this back. So what is the important takeaway? Is that offering photos. Number 2, provenance. The provenance, they gave an antique shop in Delhi. It was a brassware shop. And like, we all, when we study for exams, we make choices, right? We read about 10% of the syllabus. So whatever be the question, we fill up with the 10%. Similarly, these art dealers, whatever they bought the same provenance. It left India between 1968 and 1971. It was from a shop in Delhi. So we managed to prove all this wrong. So this is a little more detail. You can Google or read my book to know more. But more interestingly, from the same temple, another Pratyankara Devi was also lifted, and we managed to bring it back. And then initially Australia stonewalled. But finally, one by one, everything was fake. So they started giving back. Now, link back to the clue that I said. This was a site museum in Chandavaram. It was robbed 3 times in 2 years. ASI museum, first time the robbers came, tied up the guards, lifted 3 objects. Next time they drugged the security guards, lifted 2 objects. They came after 6 months, showed guns and lifted some more. They broke it in 2, shipped it and sold it to Australia. We managed to work with a German researcher. We got back, showed the provenance. Again, the same, the 10% syllabus story. Everything was fake. He had a old typewriter, some old letterheads. He just typed. And imagine somebody spending $500,000 and $1 million, and the only investment was a second-hand letterhead. And so this happened. So where is the clue? There. In the actual archaeology photo of the site museum, it was still there. And again, if the museum had it's called Worshippers of Buddha. But what happened next was shocking. We asked them to file a case on Kapoor. This object has come back to the National Museum, Chandavaram, AP, no case. This object came back in 2016. Of what happened to the rest that was sold, this was auctioned by Christie's. This was bought by Abu Dhabi, Louvre. All missing, have not come back. So we go back to our story of, this is what I said, the clinching clue. So you can actually read the pedestal inscription. And nobody bought this bronze. Everybody bought the non-inscribed bronzes. So the buyers are not good faith purchasers. They exactly knew, there is some clue in there, let's not touch it. And this is the jilted lover in Singapore. But how did we sort it? So this was how the French Institute archive, it was not digitalized now. They used to have these small bin cards. that you go, you do 2,000 a day, and try to see possible matches and then ask them to expand it. And then we make the match. So this was the robber offering photo. So when I published the match, the then curator of the National Gallery of Australia said, there are hundreds of Natarajas. You can't make out one from the other. I said, my friend, here's the proof. And we put it on YouTube. It's still available. It's called Return of the Dancer. And it came back. It went back to the same spot. And it went, this is how the temple was in ruins. And this is how the villagers spruced up the temple to receive the god. So this is what we want. We want objects to go back to being gods that they were. So this, then Australia said, okay, take back everything, and they opened up. Then we realized that the wife of the show was in Singapore. So we did some creative advertising. So we went on paper, Nataraja back from Australia, wife stuck in Singapore. So Singapore also returned. And see, you have to understand what lost wax method is. These bronzes are solid cast bronzes. They're made by a process where the entire image is first cast in wax. It's coated with clay and heated up. The clay and the wax walls off, and then you pour solid metal inside. So, and then to reveal it, you have to break the mold. It's not like your China where you have 1,000 people with the same mold. Each one is unique. And I'll give you one example. This Toledo Ganesha was bought in 2007. The Toledo Museum bought it. And interestingly, there was a small blemish in the head, and we managed to track that blemish. And they also got gifts from Chandraketugarh. And Chandraketugarh is a place in West Bengal which has been looted. So how big was the loot? So I'm just going to rush through. You're going to see all images just coming up, including Karnataka objects which have been seized. 2,622 objects were seized in 2012, valued at $108 million. And he was in business for almost 35 years. And I'm going to skip this case. This was a case of $15 million XG for want of time. I will try to end by showing a rather grotesque case. Robbers hit this temple. They cut the hand of the Nataraja thinking it had gold. Bronzes traditionally have only 0.003% gold. But then, without this hand, they actually killed the jeweler who melted it because they thought it was gold. There was a murder case. The guy who did this escaped to Thailand. The Nataraja went via road to Nepal, from Nepal to Hong Kong, from Hong Kong to London. Neil Perry Smith did this miracle, grew a new hand, made a new hand for the Nataraja. It came up for Subhash Kapoor's poster. He was trying to sell it. So this is what was Neil Perry Smith's work. And he was in the market for $3.5 million. A month before Kapoor was arrested because he was hand in glove with a number 2 in the idol wing, this idol quietly came back to India, and it was handed over without naming anybody in 2011. So without a hand, the Nataraja grows a hand, without a passport, comes back to India, all possible in India. So this all happened, and during the raids of his suppliers, Deen Dayalan, these Hoysala sculptures were seized. Yours still sitting in Madras Museum because you have not asked. One of his key conspirators, his wife's name was Nandi, so he had a fetish. In his house, they found 200 Nandis. He is a renowned art collector. So we also work on crowdsourcing, and what you guys don't do. We actually have people who turn up to campaign to say that we want this back, please give us back. So we work on a lot of things. This was a 1914 book from where we got evidence and we cracked a case. So a lot of things are happening. So this was a priest telling me that something was lost. Can you help? And it's all on WhatsApp. And I'm saying, I have a match, hold on. And we go, we found the photograph. The bronze was with Asia Society, New York, going back to worship with Modi. It's back in the temple. That is a priest who gave us a lot more. The Buddha that I talked about, this is a proof. Again, if you see, it's 3:13. I was in Singapore that time. At 3:14, I'm telling my friend that I have a match because I had a volunteer going to. So literally, this tip was given by an archaeological study officer to Sanjeev Sanyal, was a good friend. I actually have these like a wall, true crime. Before 3 days, my wife pulls them out and throws them out. So I memorized them. So this bronze came back. I'll just take 2 minutes more, please. So what happens when physically these return?
Kaya, isa ang para mo na apa mo na may ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு பார்த்துட்டு.
So this was a priest from whose temple during his father's time it was stolen. And you can actually see the emotion. And this is when bronzes come back. So this is Shiva Nataraja returning to the village. 2,000 people waiting up. And this is a crime that I want, a lot of people talking about AI. Again, I was in a UNESCO conference in Delhi when an archaeology officer from West Bengal came up and said, my PhD thesis mentor's temple was looted. I said, okay, let's track the theses. We got the theses, we got the old references, but we couldn't find the idol except in Google Street View. So the gallery in New York was visited by somebody and it had Google Street View showing this sculpture inside his gallery. And we tracked it and we got it back. And here, when I went to the place, this is the... So this is a priest praying to, so if you watch closely, he is actually praying to images of the missing icons on the wall. And I told him, we've got one, 3 were missing. So this is the clue that I talked about. Behind Douglas Latchford, you see a Krishna. We tracked it and it's come back to India as well. And I like to end with, this is not peculiar. I also work for Nepal. This was like Ardhanarishwara. This is Lakshmi Narayana that came back from Detroit Museum. This is the actual Pran Pradishta and I want you to experience it. Done. Yeah, sure. So thank you. And what happened was the custodians had taken away the silver kavasa for safekeeping, thinking nobody will steal the idol. The idol was stolen. And on the day we brought back, they actually brought the kavasa. And when they kept the kavasa, it fit. After 48 years, the custodians were still hopeful. So there's a lot more Karnataka sculptures that we can bring back. Thank you. And again, thanks for the time.
Hi, my name is Vinayak. I've been following your work for several years. And I've recommended your book not only because of the important work, because it's absolutely fascinating to read the account of how you matched manifests and went to the sports. It's unbelievable that is true at some point. So I had a 2-part question, which are kind of interlinked. There was recently an Odd Compass video. I think you might have seen it about the stolen idols and trade in that. So it mentioned that I think 1% or less than 1% of our art is actually physically in the museums, but all of it is like in private collections. So how do we actually find what is there in the private collection, and is there any way to force people to kind of share manifests of that? And the second part, I think, which was very brave in the video, is that it named famous people who do some kind of, I would say, reputation laundering by giving provenance, and it named people such as William Dalrymple.
Let's not take names for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
I
mean,
would say Soul Scholars and Lotus Scholars is enough damage done.
Yeah, so so it has like some famous names there. So okay, I won't name them, but like, so any thoughts on how we can map those private collections? You talked mostly about sculptures, and I know that your work has been mostly about sculptures, but a lot of that miniature paintings and other things also.
Thank you. My lifetime will go in sculptures. So if you have time, take up paintings. Giving up somebody to give back something that they bought for $1 million is not going to be easy. But we do hope, like this case, which I skipped, now that I have 10 minutes, So this was somebody, a friend of mine who was an art recovery agent, called me and said, "Hey, I'm attending a party outside of London. There is a grotesque looking statue, can only be from yours. Are you looking for something?" These were yoginis from UP, Lokahari, that we have been tracking from 1987. They were abandoned in a sale. The wife, the widow, was trying to sell the property, and she said, "If you have chance, I want to give up." And we made the match. They are in Vidya Devija's book, even though I wouldn't talk much about her, but they were documented in her book. With this evidence, we got back 4 from that estate. And what happened, it was incidentally, the Indian High Commission said, unless we get a letter from ASI, we can't take it back. And the lady said, "This Friday, if you don't move, I'm going to sell the property." So my friend actually took it in his car, in his truck. In fact, the embassy said, "We'll send our car." I said, "Do you even know how much it weighs?" It weighs 280 kilos. It won't fit in your bunk. And we had to drop it off outside the embassy because they wouldn't take it inside. So we said, "Tomorrow morning newspaper, your embassy door is going to be," and they finally took it inside. And then they waited for an opportunity, and it's happened. So we hope such collectors, that's the only hope, collectors are not willingly going to come back. But we are searching. I'm currently working on an archive that is researching a 1920s group that smuggled out of artifacts out of India. My other book is also going to be NRI God, Stole Iconic Cases Where India Up. So yeah, we will try to expose. Naming and shaming is the only way we can. But we also have to be careful that we are taking on a very powerful collecting lobby. The Nataraja, for example, was bought for $5 million. Suparito is much cheaper in India. So if you want to contribute, we don't take money. Help us if you are traveling abroad. If you see a museum, ask questions, raise your voice, ask for provenance. If in a shop, don't put yourself at risk. Take a picture. And more importantly, go to your Kuladevata, visit your villages. Footfall will stop theft. Thank you. Any other? Oh, this is nice. No question on Sonia Gandhi's sister. Nice guys. You are a very good audience.
So thank you so much for the talk. I'm here. And my name is Kat. I'll just stand
Okay.
up.
Sorry, the lights are very glaring.
Yeah, I'm Karthik. I just wanted to know why between 2000 and 2013 that there was no any recovery. And now that we have restored all these icons and the antiquities, what measures is taken by the government and any of the institutions to
Yeah, I
prevent this from
get the hang of
happening
it.
again?
India has done nothing that has changed, except that wherever the Prime Minister is going, there is a opportunity. So even a small podi dabba, they want to give the Prime Minister. So I think the bureaucracy has been, as far as laws, enactments, nothing has happened. Previously, I met Culture Minister with a list of low-hanging fruit. I said, "You will go down in history as a Culture Minister who will bring back the largest number of antiquities." He said, "एक petition भरवा के दीजिए." And to be honest, Nepal has recovered 2,800 objects in the same period from 2014. Cambodia has recovered over 4,000, where we are still limping at 800 because we don't have money to transport from various embassies. And also ASA wants to go to New York to inspect these before sending here, which no other country does. And they have done like 18 such trips, and they're still verifying for the last 12 years. Honestly, I've done my best. I've helped author, though it did not come in my name. There is a report by the EAC, Economic Advisory Council, a 300-page report by late Bidek Dobroy and Sanjeev Sanyal given to Prime Minister. Prime Minister sent it to set up a joint parliamentary committee. The joint parliamentary committee came up with a 600-page report 2 years ago. Karnataka set up an idle wing in 2018. Set up an idle wing in 2019, set up an idle wing in 2021, set up an idle wing in 2023, and I hear they've set something up in 2026 as well. Any other questions?
Yeah. One question, I mean, because it's, as you correctly pointed out, it's a very large business worldwide, and the stakes are so high, lot of fakes floating around and nobody's able to say anything. Even well-known galleries, I think, or have museums have even purchased.
They 100% know fake from original.
Pardon?
They check. They
Yeah.
check.
They check. Okay.
They check.
So in
they
fact,
want
they're complicit.
pre-theft, pre-cleaning with encrustation photo. That
see.
means they know if it's fresh off the ground. They 100% know.
Okay, so that just brings me to this question. I mean, today in this world of Indian antiquities, it is definitely possible to make out even a very good fake from the original. Is it?
Luckily, we don't have such skilled craftsmen who didn't do it for money. So there are still some experts who are not sold who can make that. But the other side always brings up sold scholars who say it is not original. So it's tough. But you have to understand there's a lot of risk in this, as again, you are sued, you are threatened because the number 2 in the idol wing was involved, CBCID in this. So there is a whistleblower in Calcutta Museum. We went out for tea in 2016, has not come back yet. There are about 4 temple priests who have been killed protecting it. Watchmen have been killed. So there are a lot of things that I can't say in a public forum. But yes, I am not formally trained in this. I run I have a very important day job. We believe, and there are many expert scholars before me and now who knew more than me, but they didn't do anything. Either they were scared or they were complicit. I don't want to comment. But I believe the gods want to come back home and they've chosen the time and the vehicle.
Thank you.